Okay. Cool. All right. Well, everybody made it. Or at least you guys made it. Not everyone made it. We definitely lost some people along the way. But let's look.
How many more days?
Today's our last day.
Today's the last day?
Yeah. This is finals week. This is finals week. So this is our last meeting.
That was here on Wednesday, so I thought there's not a class Wednesday.
No. It's like the final schedule. So like this is our time, finals time. But we got some stuff to look at here. And people pretty good. If you need more time, we can talk about it later. It's cool. Cool. So the reels, how to go putting the reel together, Sophia?
Pretty good. I did make a few corrections.
Good. Let's see if everything's gonna play here or not. Actually, let me double check that this is online, so we don't have a problem. Yeah, live now. Okay. So the reels, how to go? There we go. Yep. Yeah.
It's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Great. And the thing I'm telling everybody here, I was looking at a bunch of the contact information people put down. Whatever you want, however you want people to get a hold of you professionally. Like, so if this is the email you use for that, that's good. Because I was going through a bunch and people put down their Instagrams, but then I would try to look at their Instagrams and they'd be private, right? So either make like a separate account or a separate place where you put up your public stuff. If you're going to use it professionally, that makes sense, right? So, so this is like your main email that you use, sort of going forward. Yeah, so that's good. So if it's going to be this spread out, kerning-wise, I would move this a little bit further over because you end up with this kind of strangely imbalanced frame there at the end. But this is good. Let's look at it one more time. I like this screen you came up with here. Cool. These shots are all pretty good. There's nothing that really sticks out with all of them. I'm trying to think of all the projects. This is really good. Good pace of zoom in here. What's that?
Oh, you're talking about like that scene in particular?
Yeah, a lot of these turned out with the camera movement way too fast, but this one looks really good. It feels cinematic, and it's a good feel for the frame. It doesn't feel overly cluttered. The robot turned out well.
I did fix the robot, like you said, with smoothing it out.
Yeah, the animation on the robot looks good. I don't know if you need a colon. But it's a good collection of stuff. I think you got a good, these were obviously the projects that we did over the course of the semester. But over the course of the semester, I try to build in stuff where people can use some of their own voice as well as working on the class projects. And you got a good balance here of what's going on with this. This one here, so this is an instance where this was like a gradient, right? That went from like light brown to dark brown over here, or did you use like a vignette at the end?
Vignette.
Yeah, so any case where you have this like gradient that goes across the entire screen, when you go to compress it, you can end up with this kind of banding like this. See the stripes there on the, you're not quite as visible on the TV. But in Media Encoder, if you gave it a little bit more bit rate, you could smooth some of this out. But that's just something that's just going to happen with because a big gradient like this is working just opposite of compression. Because compression is going to try and, group colors together, whereas the gradient is trying to make this really smooth transition between colors. So that's just a little bit tough. But it's anyone, it's not really, it's more of a technical issue. Cool.
That's really interesting though. The bit rate you can adjust independent of anything else, just like you can adjust the frame rate independent of anything in the settings. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, when we made those
Presets?
yeah, the presets and the tiny one for Slack, that's the main thing that in addition to the resolution. Is it not going to launch Media Encoder now? There we go. That was the main thing. If you keep scrolling down, there's the bit rate right there, and you can dial that left or right. So that's useful. I mean, in a handful of cases where I've had to submit things, they say like, we don't take files over 100 megabytes or something.
Yeah.
And so you can just dial it down until it's within that size. But I mean, you are losing quality when you do that, but usually within acceptable standards. It really starts to break down when you have stuff that's just got a lot of change in pixel over the entire frame. So people will post stuff on Twitter that has like a ton of like crazy intense particle stuff going on where there's like lots of different colors. Like it just doesn't compress well because there's a ton of detail, right? That's what the compression's doing. It's cheating on the detail because most of the images are like cheatable. You can just sum the background into something, whereas if you're doing something really, really detailed, it just doesn't work as well. Abres. Cool. Keep, this all looked really good. Good pacing. Most of the shots felt like of an appropriate length. This, either keep it up so that it doesn't fade out at the end and it just stays on the screen, or make this way longer, because it definitely was not enough time to read your name, right? I know what your name is now, but that would be something to keep that up there, right? So not having it fade out at the end so that when it stops, it just has the same information up there. In this case, that would be desirable for this. This is good. I feel like your visual voice comes through even in a lot of the projects. We got, you know, like a robot arm with a flower on it. The flower language seems to come through a bunch. I don't know if you did it on purpose, but the music really seemed to sync up with this bug right here. So that was cute. Yeah, this turned out really cool. I like this. Of the things that stuck out here that you might want to, probably just some things you could fix in a re-render. This render out of Cinema 4D, you would definitely want to turn on the anti-aliasing. This is pretty, I think it's a combination of the anti-aliasing being off, or not totally off, but set to low. And this might be a smaller size clip that you upscaled, you know, you scaled it for the reel, which isn't terrible, that's fine. But the aliasing is pretty pronounced here, right? And everyone knows what I mean by that now, like the jaggedness, right, of this. That also showed up in the other Cinema 4D render of the robot. Wherever that is. Here it is. Yeah. Not quite as bad here, but still, it looks like you could turn the anti-aliasing up to best and just drop those in again. The only other thing that stuck out with me was the pause in the repeat with the squash and stretch. I might adjust that so you don't have those stop totally at the top of the bounce, and then maybe extend this clip so that we get to see a second bounce. That would be good. Are they not hitting the floor? Yeah, maybe something happened and you moved your solid. Cool, but your voice definitely comes through here. A lot of yellow, a lot of flowers. Motion blur on this one helps with the butterflies, I think. This looks good. Is everything spelled right? Yeah. Cool. Very nice, Aubrey. Super. Let's see. Nice. Cool. Again, I feel like we got a little bit of your voice and everything that's going on here. Looks good. Good combination of clips. I feel like we touched on most of the projects here. You have all your gerbil stuff in there. That's good. That looks good. these shots here, the real and surreal, I feel like the camera move. Yeah, I feel like the scene works. It's just that the camera move is way too fast. In both this one and this one. This one I hear, I think you're trying to do like a camera shake or dropping the camera kind of thing. Either way, both those scenes could be like 3 times as long because they're both like maybe less than a second. So 3 seconds for each of those to really appreciate what's happening would be better.
What was the first scene with the driver in the car? What was that?
I thought it was like in an apartment. Or like a yeah.
This part's real?
I think this is supposed to be realistic. Like it's supposed to be like just reading a book in a house-ish. Something.
But that was an assignment?
Yeah, this is her like real and surreal scene. This is the surreal one. The watch is on the. Yeah, because it's hard when I go back and go frame by frame, I can sort of break down what's happening here, and I've seen these a couple times, so there's that. Yeah, those scenes, and because we're using the fast Cinema 4D render, you would just again. You would not want to slow these down in After Effects because then you would just end up with a chunky frame rate. You would want to go back to Cinema 4D, give the composition more frames, and then re-render it with anti-aliasing set to best, and that would render pretty quick. And then drop those slower image sequences into your reel here.
No, the word impact. Is that is I lost center.
Oh yeah, that's awkward. Having just the T cut off just makes it, at first glance, it just looks like you spelled impact wrong. So moving that a little bit so that we can see the T. Also, don't spin the type like this. Just having those fade in would be a little bit better. But overall, nice. A good collection. If you had time doing that kind of squash and stretch with this line, outline doesn't really work stylistically. That would be a good change. This is cool. You sort of did your own thing with the robot, getting really, really in your face here. And we got this staying on the screen at the end. And you got rid of the outline type. Cool. Nice. Well done. Let's get Cynthia's. Okay, there's no sound on this. Maybe their sound is really quiet. Oh, okay, it's really quiet. Okay, cool. This looks like a good, first pass at this. I think you've got all of your source here. That's good. It just needs to turn into more of a polished reel as far as showing off your work. You want to cut between the scenes and not nearly as much things fading out than other things fading in. You want it to be a little snappier than that as far as cutting from one thing to the next. And, probably not the title screens for the individual things. I mean, well, maybe that's okay if there's also your title at the beginning. So taking the time to put your title there at the beginning would be good. This seems strange in that, look, the frame rate was slowed down on this in a way that kind of zapped the energy out of it a little bit. But you've got all the stuff here from your different projects. Yeah, please don't move type diagonally like that. That doesn't look great, especially for the ending. And remember to keep things inside your title safe box there at the end. The only other thing, there was some outline type. Oh yeah, that stuck out. Here and here, just uncheck those outlines. That'd be good. But yeah, these things like the titles that we put in for the individual projects, not something that you would include in the reel itself, So this is good. So where is this at, like time-wise? This is like 1:22. Like once you go back and spend some time, because this is the portfolio you want to show off to people for this work, it would be good to take some time and repolish this. Probably a minute is enough with the content that's here once you trim off the ends and make sure things aren't fading into each other, but just editing from one to the next would be good. But you've got all the stuff in place here. This is interesting. I don't think we ended up seeing this until the very end. There's one other thing that stuck out. Well, the butterflies look good. Yeah, definitely don't start the reel with like a title for another. It just doesn't make a lot of sense when you're positing this as the reel. But this is good. This is a good first pass, sort of getting everything on the timeline. Here's Trinity's. Nice. I'm gonna keep talking over this, so hopefully that doesn't get it taken off of YouTube, whatever's happening with the music. Nice. Good track to pick. Heavily influenced by the new Sherlock theme, but I liked it. It worked really well for this. And you did a really, really great job of editing to the music. So, this moment with the hammers, right on the beat, well done. Right, in terms of, that next level of attention, not putting the edit on the beat, but the action of the hammer impact on the beat. Super, super timing. You got your motion blur on your butterflies. Bounce looks nice. Let me just watch the intro again. This never plays the beginning back. A lot of wind chimes. A lot of wind chimes in this track. I like it. The yeah, the improvements you made to the Fox look really good. You got that like heat ripple, and you took the stuff we did about the lens flare and sun rays and put it on the sun there. Helps that scene a little bit. Yeah, the robot seems so much more dramatic now.
I think she has a better Foxes on her Slack. Maybe she uploaded the wrong one. There's the one on her Slack shows them breathing, and it's really effective.
Yeah, this one's like breathing on the other one, right?
On the Slack, but it isn't.
It isn't in here? Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tail moves and it breathes, and it's like so lovely. It's not.
Yeah, so just drop that one. Drop that one in there.
She's got it.
This transition with the tiger to the light bulb is cool. This scene turned out interesting. The only thing here with this scene, like we could slow down. Not necessarily, the camera movement feels okay, but like the speed of the stuff in the scene feels a little quick. Since everyone's done with school and now you have all the time in the world, it'd be worth a shot switching your render here to the standard renderer. Essentially maybe set it up so it does it overnight or something. I think that might just address the issues with whatever's going on in the water bottle, and like the cards on the table are flickering in and out. Some of that may just be the viewport renderer that's a little weird. If it looks like the cards are still flickering, then just move them up ever so slightly so they're not exactly intersecting with the top of the table. That would do that, because this scene looks good. You look very competently laid out a room. Looks like a room. But yeah, when you do, it's hard to see it when you're working on it in Cinema 4D until it gets rendered out. But occasionally aliasing issues and these issues of having when this kind of stuff happens, it's called Z fighting, right? They're kind of at the same space, and it's not sure which one to render. And then also make sure you got your anti-aliasing set to best here. It might take a little while to render that scene, but there'll be one sort of set up before you go to bed and wake up the next morning and check the render. But really great job. This is nice. This looks really good. Great use of typography. I feel like this is very balanced. You're within the boxes. Yeah, and this is a good stage name, Trifecta Maestro. And you've got it on all your social medias. You got to that one early. Maybe it's just because we're so close to the... Well, I mean, you're using Trifecta. It just feels like a... I mean, I guess if you are in horse racing, you're not going to name your horse Trifecta. But anyways, it's a really good name. Right? It would seem like a bit much, right? If you're going to own horses. I don't know. It's not like I've ever had enough money to own horses, so... Good. Good. That was nice. You got everything in there. Nice opening screen. I think you just made a mistake with, I feel like we saw the gravestone thing happen twice. Is that right? I don't know. Maybe, yeah, because it's here and then it's here. Yeah. So this was like obviously a placeholder somehow, because this one still has a time code on it. So whatever other scene from your purple, you know what would go good here? The chemistry scene, because we don't see that one. That one was good. I think you should put that in the reel. So yeah, just drop that one in here. This turned out really well. Nice. I feel like very, very squashy, cool. The blob turned out well. We get a blink, we get a squash. He looks blobby. Very good. I like the golden knights. We get this close up so we can see what you did with the texturing. That's good. It's really good. The only thing with this piece of music is, you know, it's one of those tracks that builds up to a drop. Unfortunately, you know, we have that timing issue where the drop happens like right at the end of your time with the track. So maybe sliding the timeline over so we just start the track at a little higher energy point. That way it doesn't feel like it's building and then ends. Dragonflies turned out great. Those look cool. I feel like this could be a touch longer, maybe just one more second with your title card before we get into everything else. Yeah, just sub out that this clip here for the chemistry clip. That'd be good. Yeah, this is a good good mix of stuff.
The robot is in there twice.
Is the robot in there twice?
Unless
There's
it's
a
just
robot.
the way you're scrubbing it. It looks like it's.
Well, I think it's picking up and then throwing, right? Yeah, and then we see a throw at the end.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so that's all right. Cool. Well done. Well done. Just a couple of things I would polish up there before I got it up online. But the work this semester looks really good. You got a lot of attention to detail. It's a good idea using the grass again. This looks really good. Your Knights project. Good sense of camera movement in that one. Cool. Very nice, Stephanie. And let's see, Lambs is online. If I click this, what's it gonna do? Okay, good. Okay, so Lamb, just call it your, put this over here so that it has your name there. And, if it's just a sentence or something like, this is, my reel for my animation and motion graphics work. I'd usually tell students, don't put the name of the class in your description here, because that no one cares or knows anything about that. As far as like Art 184 is meaningless to people not currently enrolled at, Maricopa County Community Colleges. And so if you're going to say, I did this work in class, I think that's fine. You could say I did it in like an animation class or something like that, something that's meaningful to people who are not in the system, because that's who this is for, right? Potential employers, people who don't know about your work and you want to show them your work. So I think I talked a little bit about this last time. Often, you're showing this to people, and the people making decisions about it are not also super in the know about this. So you want to lead people through the process as much as possible. Cool. Nice. Let's look at it again here. Yeah, I think something just happened on the timeline here with the how fast, because we actually see the butterfly. Yeah, like this butterfly shot here is way too short as far as it looks good. Like when I stop it, like I can tell. Oh yeah, this looks great. You got the grass and everything in there, but it's like it may be less than a second, which is too short. Too short. So you just got to extend that on the timeline. Again, yeah, we've been looking at these projects for months at this point, and so our ability to like visually process what we're seeing is informed by the fact that we've looked at, you know, literally 10 versions of these projects for months. Versus, again, people who's going to be watching this, people not familiar with your work. So you need to make sure the shots are long enough that people can understand what they're looking at. So that was a little too quick there at the beginning. But the combination of things you got going on here look good. Yeah, there's just a bunch of things that got cut super short. Like, I think you just wanted to show us the hammer part, but we had this happen right before that where we didn't see the impact. So just like some tiny edit things on the timeline to clean up, to help get this going. Yeah, because then we see you've got your name as what I would imagine is on a solid below all the other layers, and then there's a tiny little gap, and so we see that happen again. We don't want to see that till the end. So just tiny little editing things. Remember, if you hold down Shift when you're sliding things left and right, it'll lock it to either the keyframe position or the beginning and end of a previous edit. So that makes it easier to avoid those tiny little 1 frame or 2 frame blips.
Sequence layers.
What's that?
Sequence
Sequence layers.
layers.
Yeah, that's definitely a good tool for the initial laying them out on the timeline. That's also a super great tool. Usually everyone gets the job of someone being like, hey, I have like 300 photographs I want to put into a movie. And so that sequence layers is a lifesaver in that when you get that job, because everyone always has to do that for whatever reasons. There are programs that do that, right? You can just feed it a folder of images, but inevitably people end up in a situation where they like can't run that program or whatever, and so they have to make a movie slideshow of like 900 images. And then that sequence layers makes that job real easy, as opposed to trying to do it some other way.
I will say with like that impact hammer scene and like the sports logo,
Mm-hmm.
it was on beat. I did like that though.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I like this track. It definitely starts off a little disjointed, you know, which is fine, but like it's a little discombobulated at the beginning. Maybe start a little bit further into the track. I don't know. Part of it may have just been like the weird editing pace here at the very beginning that was also kind of strange. So once you get those two things cleaned up, I think.
He has a stroke on the bounce. That's weird. I know that's.
Yeah.
You called that out before.
Yeah.
The next one.
Yep. And this is not quite circular. I don't know. I don't quite remember. It may have been circular in the original image, and then he smushed it a little bit here to make it fit in the frame or something. So that may also be part of it.
That one.
And yeah, get the time code out of there in the ones that you're going to put on the reel. That's probably a good idea. Cobra Jukebox. That's another good name. Trifecta Maestro and Cobra Jukebox. Cool. Well done, Liam. That's the one I got from before. Let me sign into Slack over here. Decided to use the school computer today, and now I'm remembering why I stopped doing that. Let's sign into everything. Okay, so that's good. Let's get Sophia's. Okay, Trinity, are you on? You must be on the live stream as well. Make sure I grab everybody's stuff. All right, let's look at lambs first.
Blue, the color of sadness, color of peace, blue sky and blue ocean. The color is commonly associated with masculinity, loyalty, and security. Blue also expresses sadness. In Greek mythology, blue is associated with rain. The color of ocean, the color of sky, they are also blue.
Cool. Let's see, where is this at? All right. The voiceover is pretty quiet, but let's look here. Some good improvements. You got the volumetric light happening here at the beginning with this scene. That's a better hat, for sure, than the previous hat. And I feel like this transition made more sense.
Blue also expresses sadness. In Greek mythology, blue is associated with rain. The color of ocean, the color of sky, they are also blue.
Cool. This I feel like it segues and gets from one scene to the next in a much less clunky way. Your transitions feel a little bit better. The dolphin, I think, looks good, but could use some. I feel like there's something strange that happens when it enters the water again. I kind of wanted to just sploosh and it feels like it jiggles around or something. I don't know if you're trying to do something different with the tail or something there, but the motion of it coming up out of the water I thought felt
Color
better.
of sky, they are also blue.
And yeah, I mean, a suggestion there. I mean, you got one dolphin. It would totally make sense to have a couple dolphins doing that there as a way to sort of fill out that scene a little bit more. This scene feels more visually coherent as far as the style of what's happening here. Yeah, I thought these people read as police officers now. What did you guys think? I mean, the hat, it also reads as like a hat now better. I think that's better.
I mean, I could tell they're security guards or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he definitely communicated that. Good use of the rain particles. Nice. I feel like this improved a bunch. So with the volumetric light, the scene definitely looks better with the volumetric light in there. I'm not sure whether you used a spotlight or a target light. I mean, a target light is just a spotlight with a target. It might be better to use the target light so that it looks like a spotlight panning around. Right? If you move it, that's, I think, going to look a little strange, which kind of is what we have now. It's kind of, the whole beam is moving versus kind of like rotating from an axis like a spotlight typically would. And then it looks good here because we get this much more gradual fall off to the light, and then something happened to the fall off parameters here that it gets cut off, which looks a little unnatural. So whatever, either you animated something or swapped one in and one out or something like that, you want that sort of gradual fall off at the end so it looks more like, you know, light's usually not going to stop like that in midair. And so if we're slowly decreasing, that would make it look a little better. And if it, I think it would be okay if it sort of branched out a little bit more. Those are all those handles. If you have the light selected in object mode, then you get all those little yellow boxes right there to sort of adjust the light. Cool. Nice work, Lamb. Let's get that one. No, that's the real. Here's the color scope.
Orange is the color of adventure. Orange represents the energy of excitement, which can lead to impulsive risk-taking. It embodies warmth and creative freedom. Orange can clearly warn of danger. Orange is a welcoming comfort of festivity and transformation.
Cool. Let's see it again.
Orange is the color of adventure. Orange represents the energy of excitement, which can lead to impulsive risk-taking. It embodies warmth and creative freedom. Orange can clearly warn of danger. Orange is a welcoming comfort of festivity and transformation.
Cool. I thought that was good. You made a bunch of changes there. This scene with the shadow tiger, I thought this works now. Like just giving the tiger that like ethereal ray moves it into like, yeah, it's like a magic tiger thing. You know, like it didn't seem, before it seemed very strange, like this tiger floating there. But now I didn't read it that way at all. So all of that shadow work there seems good. Like that looked way better. And yeah, the you got the particles and the blur and crunch dialed in a way that makes this fire effect really match your style that you have here. So I thought it matched. You made it match really well here, and you made it match really well for the candle. Both of those, like, just fit right into the visual language that you've established for this project. You got the, I don't know if that's new, if I just didn't notice it before, you got the sparks on the fire as well. Does anyone remember? I'm not sure if that was there before or not. But it looks good. That looks good. Yeah, this tiger looks cool. The way this scene unveils, it sort of folds out. Particle system for the leaves. Good. You definitely got the particles dialed in. You got particles for the fire. You got particles on this path. That's all looking great. Is this the same artist for the other one? I thought the other one was... Kinkas? How would you even say that? I'm not sure. Okay, it is the same artist, just different song. Okay, I just didn't know if you accidentally put the same thing for both. Yeah, Central Park, right? Is it? Did I? Yeah, 2 different songs. Cool. Nice work, Trifecta Maestro. Good selection of the music. The music communicates Trifecta Maestro.
Red is the color of bold associations. Red is also a color with dramatic themes, such as passion, anger, love, and urgency. It often correlates with danger as seen on horror films. Yet throughout history, it was the color of elegance. But when you see red, take a glance. It might be helpful.
Cool. Nice. That was snappy. Good.
Red
Better.
is the color of bold associations. Red is also a color with dramatic themes, such as passion, anger, love, and urgency. It often correlates with danger as seen on horror films. Yet throughout history, it was the color of elegance. But when you see red, take a glance. It might be helpful.
Cool. That was, I thought, that's way better. A lot of improvements there. This scene, you got these sort of floating around a little bit, right? That looks better. You got multiple ribbons happening here. Did you end up using the C4D technique or the After Effects? C4D? Okay. Yeah, and this worked as far as, iconographic, there's the word I'm looking for, representation of these different ideas, and you timed them with the sound effects. Were there other sound effects or just the siren?
Passion, anger, love, and urgency. It often...
Okay. Yeah, just the siren there in that sequence. But that works. That was the only, what is it? Yeah, it's good. It's great. This works. So did you scale this, or is the path animated? It's hard to say.
No, I scaled it, so I didn't just do that.
The framing on this looks better. I don't know, it feels more balanced. But then you zoom in here for the transition.
Yeah.
That's good. This scene looks good with the shadow.
History, it was the color of elegance. But what
The only thing that stuck out to me there is maybe putting the posterized time on the turbulent displace, because the turbulent displace is really fast and the turn is slower. That would be the only last bit of thing there. This scene I thought looks better. Like now, this stop sign doesn't feel. It feels like it's of this kind of, you know, cubist-ish sort of. You don't need ish. You can just say cubist. Scene that you put together here. The only thing here is make sure you check the box, that little star box in Illustrator or in After Effects, to make sure that this stays super crisp even as you zoom in on it. So you got to check that box the whole way down on the original comp, and then if you pre-comped it, make sure you check it on the pre-comp as well, so that when you scale in here, or did you use a camera or did you just scale the comp?
I used a null and a camera.
Okay.
I parented, like, I forgot what that swirl button is called.
The pick whip.
Yeah, pick whip. So I attached the pick whip from the camera to the null, and then that's how I animated that.
Okay. Yeah, just so that it stays, because you zoom out in on a bunch here, so that it stays sharp. That would be good. But that scene looks, you know, consistent. Great.
Can you explain that, what you just said, as opposed to a target for the camera, you made a null? Can you explain?
So
I'm not sure. So you parented the camera to a null?
Yeah, so I added new layers, new camera, and a null. Then, let's see. Well, first, before I did that, so the null, I adjusted the null to where I wanted to zoom in. Then I clicked on the 3D layers for all of them. To make it actually work, like you have to select the 3D layer and then click it on every layer. Then I attach the pick whip from the camera onto the null, and then I animated it.
So which thing did you animate, the camera or the null?
Let's see, I animated the position of the null. So and when you turn on the 3D layer, it has X, Y, and Z, and you scale the Z coordinates.
On the camera?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you zoomed in by moving the camera forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I zoomed in. I changed the position on the null layer. So.
Were you using the null as a target?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of like it's kind of like a target, like depending on where you want to zoom in.
Okay.
I found that a tutorial on YouTube.
I think I'm asking because I'm having a real conflict with a similar thing. I'm moving a camera, but not. I'm zooming it and not changing the target. Just zooming.
It's a nice. Those are two different fonts, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, I might, just make those the same font. Just make the top one the thin version and your name. Use the one that you used for your name, not the top one. If we were doing much larger projects, like it would be okay to have multiple fonts in the same thing, but for something this short, just consistency is usually the better play. Let's see what else we got. So we looked at Sophia's, we looked at Trinity's, we looked at Lamb's. Where is all my stuff? Okay. Who else has something on Trinity, can you make it to the show on Thursday? Go ahead and post something on Slack there. I have Slack open in the other window. No, Trinity.
Oh,
Yeah. You're coming, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So here's the most recent one from Cynthia.
Green is a color of life. The color green is a reminder of nature and growth. The growth represents development and maturity, so when surrounded by the color, it can bring out this feeling. In ancient Egypt, they came across the color viridis by a chemical reaction by mixing a material with copper-containing pigments. Researchers have found that being surrounded by the color green can fasten the healing process and is also known to reduce stress. In psychology, green has different meanings since it is mixed with two colors. Blue gives us a sense of being calm and a sense of security, while yellow allows us to be optimistic.
Okay, cool.
Green is a color.
Maybe there's another draft of this coming soon, but the this I felt like this worked better at the beginning than the last time we saw it. I don't remember there being rain in it before either. Maybe I just missed that, but the sun and moon moving across with the plant moving. Because I don't think there was any puppet pin tool in the plant before, if I remember correctly. And so that takes it much more into plant territory, where I felt like these were plants and moved like plants. If anyone hasn't checked it out yet, you know, there's was it Planet Earth and Blue Planet, and they just did Green Planet, which is all about plants. There's a lot of this kind of time-lapse footage in it. This is good. I think the scene looks good. Stylistically, I feel like it's kind of like a departure from the rest of the project a little bit, mostly because of the background. Like, I'm not sure that matches sort of whatever else is going on. The other thing that I really like the figure. I think the figure's motion is pretty good. Make sure you're easing. I feel like some of these are still linear keyframes. And then when it is a two-dimensional figure, I don't think you can really rotate on the, what is the figure's y-axis, you know, so that we see that it's like a flat card. It just doesn't look like a person turning. It just looks like you're kind of folding a cardboard cutout. It just doesn't work like that visually. And so without that, I think it would be pretty good, as long as we got the easing in there. And the other thing, I don't know, like it kind of struck me strange that this was see-through, this plate. I'm not sure if you're doing that on purpose or whether it's just like a compositing problem. Did anyone else, is there something I'm missing here as to why the plate is see-through?
I have a problem with it because she's not on the ground, so maybe she's supposed to be ethereal and see-through. You can sort of rationalize the see-through because of that.
No.
But still, I'm wondering, are those things supposed to be dropping into the wooden barrel pot, whatever that is, a pail? Are they supposed to be dipping? She said something about dipping, in which case they aren't in there at all.
Yeah, let's look at that for a second. Yeah, so in order to make it look like the dish goes into the pot, you got to duplicate. This is a duplicate and mask situation. So you duplicate the pot, so you got two pots, and then the one you need to make the foreground pot and the background pot. And so the foreground pot should be, essentially this. Try and draw that line better with my mouse. This part right here. Right, so that's about what it would have for the mask for the foreground pot, right? And then this layer would be in front or on top of the layer that the dish is on. So it would go, foreground pot, then dish, and then the layer for the background pot, which would be masked out about like that. And so that would, this would be 1, 2, 3 being, 1 being the furthest up in the layer stack there. So that way it would look like the dish would, when a dish passes in front, it would pass in front of layer 3 here, and it would pass behind layer 1. So it would look like the dish is going into the pot then, which would help. Yeah, so it needs to go one way or the other. Either she looks more ethereal, in which case like make her also a little transparent and maybe add a glow or something, so that it matches the dish, or make the dish solid so that it makes a little more sense visually. One or the other. I could see it going either way there. But in order to get the dish to go in rather than just behind the pot there. This, you've got a good series of images you created as far as like this brain cobwebs, like that's well drawn. That I figured out what that was right away. And someone stressed out and depressed or just regular. But I think these things could be, they're all moving around the frame in a strange way. And you've got this thing over here. I would just move this to the middle and have it rotate way slower so that it seems more like a thing. And then have your other images appear, centered, lined up with the center of this thing, as if they're at the center of this kaleidoscopic series of emotions that you're describing, versus everything sort of moving around, which ends up with some sort of awkward framings. I'm not sure what's going on here. Did anyone? Yeah. Did anyone understand what she's supposed to represent, or? We were all confused, so I'm not sure. It seems like this is a perfectly fine image you made here, but I don't know what it's doing in the piece. Let me see what she's saying there, maybe.
Process and is also known to reduce stress. In psychology,
Does this woman have reduced stress? Is that what we're communicating? I don't know. It's tough. Like, if you used this woman over the line, reduce stress, that that would make sense to me.
Well,
But
you broke up the arms in a different layer to animate that. I think would be worth doing with that other figure because the pin tool doesn't really work on.
yep,
Or
yep. This is why I always,
so the arms could be.
yeah, I
just a
always,
layer instead of the butt moving out with the pin. It's just awkward.
yeah. The movement is awkward. Like it really, puppet pin tool doesn't work for most character animation. Like it's much better to break it up into separate parts. Otherwise, you end up with, yeah, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Yeah, I think we had talked before a little bit of movement up and down in the body here, just very ever so slightly would help this scene a bunch. I don't know what, again, you just gotta, because you had this problem with your reel too. Just take some time to go back and reveal the typography guidelines in that this is way too low contrast. We can't really read what's going on here. And it's also too close to the edge in the bottom and the side. And things animate to the side and then up, like just in from the side or just up would be fine. And then, yeah, your name. I mean, I dislike this Windows Media Player a whole bunch because it has this inexplicable gray gradient on the bottom of it, and it also jams your title over top of things. But it does provide a good opportunity to show you that, is a way to ensure that your type is readable, keeping it away from the edges of the frame so that Microsoft and other companies don't make your type illegible by just unbelievably poor product design. But yeah, so this should be up further, and this should be like maybe the brightest green in your palette so that it's, again, type, we want to be able to read it. So the font choice here is good, check. Contrast, not so hot. Like we can't, it's really tough to make out. And it's being made further difficult by the program. But it's a good example of how that can happen with these kind of things. Yeah, the fact that this is like the default Windows Media Player is mind-boggling. We checked out Trinity's. Let's see, Stephanie's latest one.
Purple is the color of royalty. Rarely seen in nature, purple was one of the most difficult and expensive dyes to find. In 1856, purple dye was accidentally created by the chemist William Henry Perkin, who was working on an anti-malaria drug. Amethyst is a purple-colored quartz that was thought to fight off drunkenness when placed under the tongue when consuming alcohol in ancient Greece. In parts of Europe, Brazil, and Thailand, purple is associated with death.
Cool. I thought this came together pretty well. This blob came a long way. We have the initial smush and then the crown smush. This scene, that was much snappier. I remember that being way slower before. I felt like these, yeah, we get a fall and a bounce. That's good. I mean, if you could, I would do even like a more dramatic ease on the bowl coming in and out. And so here's an example. Stephanie got the bowl situation where her, this is one layer, this is another layer, so it makes it looks like things go into the bowl. These look good. This scene looks cool. We follow this thing and then we pull out here, and you've got the chemical level rising. You've got some bubbles over here now. Let's see here.
colored quartz that was thought to fight off drunkenness and placed under the tongue when consuming alcohol in ancient Greece. In parts of Europe, Brazil, and Thailand, purple is associated with death.
Cool. Yeah, just put the music credit in the description. That looks good. This scene looks really good. Nice. Sort of grounding it here. Composition of the frame is good. I feel like the clouds look better than they did. Did you dial up some transparency here in them or something? And you've also got these tiny little specks, which like could be stars or birds or something. But it just really helps like the scale and sense of the scene. This scene here, I think this looks good. If you can find a higher res image. I mean, this looks better than the one that was really confusing, I think. Maybe it's the same one. We've established that my Mediterranean geography is not great. But, I mean, that looks less distorted, doesn't it? It feels like it is. Anyways, this looks really good. The amethyst. I'm a little confused here. Did people just like put it under their tongue? I mean, you can't eat this, right? Like, I don't know. What is
She
it?
did say that was the belief.
The belief?
Yeah.
You just put it under your tongue. You don't eat it, right? It's a rock. You wouldn't want to eat it, right? I don't know. It was a different time, right?
But does it read as under the tongue? Like, does that read? I don't know if that's important or not. But on the map, I don't remember her zooming on the map. I remember there being a map.
Yeah.
And I think for me personally, you're going from thinking what is going on here to, oh, it's a map. Whereas before, when you can see the whole piece of the hemisphere, it made more sense. I
Yeah.
think that's a new thing she added, but I felt that seeing the hemisphere was a little easier to orient. These are personal judgments.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as far as pie in the sky, like if the mouth closed at the end, that would sort of, I think, solve some of the issues there. Like, I'm not sure this needs to zoom out again here at the end because you kind of did that in the previous scene. But great. This blob ended up looking really nice. Got those little sparkles here on the crown. Super. Well done. I like this.
It's a typo.
Is there a typo?
Smoky. Well, you said to take the music credit out, but if it is to remain there, Smokies is an apostrophe and not two quotes.
Yeah, that's probably a typo, not the artist being wacky. Yeah, like this should be an apostrophe, and then that. Yeah, but just put it in the description. We want to focus on Stephanie, not Track Tribe. In this instance, I mean, I'm sure Track Tribe has done great work, but you know. I think Aubrey put a Vimeo link over here somewhere. I thought so.
Yellow is the color of positivity. In general, yellow is the color of joy and youth. Because the color is highly visible, taxis and school buses are yellow. The color yellow is also known to increase the intelligence and memory. The brain releases more serotonin when a person is surrounded by the color yellow, which is why this color stands as a symbol of happiness and positivity.
Cool. All right, this is, I mean, pretty much ready. Just get the, turn off your timestamp layer. Just have your name here at the end, right? So that we're ending on animation, Aubrey. Yeah, great work with the sound effects, lining those up with the different, you lined up every pop in this scene here. That looks really good. Yeah, we talked about this one before, just a quick re-render with anti-aliasing turned on would be good. This scene looks good. I think we talked about this before. The only thing I think would help here is just the car is casting a shadow on the ground, but that's a pretty small detail. This is better. This is different, right? We had talked about putting this in here, and now there's a glow and the light beams. That looks better. That's a cool transition there. Kind of looks like an egg or something. Now you got these faces and the molecule blinking. That looks good. This scene is really visceral. This is cool. You do this thing at the end where we get the white border. That just needs to last a little bit longer. It was so quick, it almost felt like kind of a mistake somehow.
Which is why this color.
Yeah. And the duck squash.
As a symbol of happiness.
Yeah, that's good. Like I don't feel like the duck came apart into parts. That was kind of happening before somehow.
Color yellow, which is why this color stands as a symbol of happiness and positivity.
So yeah, the the duck looks really good and the bubbles look really good. I feel like they could just stay here during the credits. Like we've seen a lot of happy faces at this point. Like maybe just keep the bubbles, because they're not quite long enough. We just keep that duck. Maybe the duck could swim off to the right, but just keep the bubbles going during the thing. I was gonna say animate the bubbles in, but you kind of put a sound effect there as if they pop in, and I think that works. So just keep those there.
As a symbol of happiness and positivity.
Yeah, you got like that bubble effect there. Yeah, just keep those there. Like have your duck hanging out here. Maybe the duck, goes off in one direction, but the bubbles just keep happening, because the bubbles would be low contrast enough that they're not going to interfere with reading your name at the end. Nice.
Yellow is the color of positivity.
Super. That was really good. You got everything manipulated there to get the screen filled with the solid, which works really well for the next scene. It looks like you rendered this one with anti-aliasing, because this looks nice and smooth pretty much. The wheels look better. Remember there was something strange about them before. I thought they look better now.
The brain releases more serotonin when a person is surrounded by.
I'm going to take your word for it that this is the right molecule for serotonin. I don't know. Nice. A lot of good improvements there. It's very tight. You got a lot done in 34 seconds. It was very nice.
Teal is the color of individuality. The color combination of blue and green gets its name from the common teal duck family. Teal radiates relaxation, open-mindedness, and creativeness that has the power to calm and heal. Because it is easy on the eye, it was used in the original 16 web colors in HTML in 1987 and even exploded in popularity in the 90s, notably in sports, where 6 out of 22 new professional teams chose the teal color as their uniform. On another side, teal also radiates shyness, introversion, and cautiousness. Though, due to these traits, it continues to be a popular color, often used in logos, web design, and interior design.
Cool. I feel like there's probably another cut of this coming with, because you made a lot of these changes in the reel too. So not outlining the type here, but I thought this worked really well. The different scenes, you represented things visually pretty well. We talked about this character stuff for a while before. And the font I would definitely change there on the screen. This is a cool way to end it with the zoom in. You can do that and then just leave that there. I don't think it needs to jump around the screen while your credits show up here. Like, cause that's a cinematic trope to, the name for whatever that is escapes me off the top of my head, you know, sort of a circle wipe. But yeah, then it can just stay there. It doesn't need to move around.
Is that a track mat or an animated mask? How would you do that?
Yeah, either probably a track mat would be the easiest way to do it. I mean, a mask. I don't think the mask has a separate anchor point. Yeah, so a track mat would be the easiest way to do it. Very nice. And yeah, we talked about the water background being just too busy for this project, right? You've kind of established this. Your hand is clearly visible in your style in the other assets, whereas this water doesn't really seem to vibe with the rest of what you've got going on. Very nice. Super. We saw lands. Jeremy, what's the most recent version of something we can check out?
I didn't submit anything else.
Let's see.
There isn't anything more that I sent to the campus or anywhere.
Let's see. Does anyone else have it?
I'm
Make sure. No.
struggling with it. It's
We'll take a look at it.
I thought I had it, and I don't want to spend a whole nother class hour doing it again because it's all there, but I didn't make the stroke a 3D layer. So the shape of the stroke was should have been a 3D layer, and I thought I had it all, and I couldn't. Things weren't happening, and the scale was so way off when I put the camera back in. So let me just ask a question that I need to labor over a little bit. I have not been able to get the trim path to do it the way you had it moving along. When I did the start point,
Mm-hmm.
the end point.
Mm-hmm.
The end point should be where the hand ends. But no. See, I'm confused about that. The end point is what you did was you had like an 8% and then 19%, so that it created the shape of the aerosol. So then what is the endpoint? I'm kind of confused between trim path versus taper.
I don't think I use taper at all in that.
I know,
Taper.
but I wanted to.
Yeah, taper just thins out the ends of the stroke. Right.
Yeah, I did want to do that.
You did want to do
So,
that?
for
Yeah.
me,
So.
the fan of the aerosol, I did want the taper, so I tried to create the taper, and I got it before it was 3D. And then when it wasn't, then when I had to turn it into 3D, I lost the taper completely, and all my points were way out. I mean, it's just a question of going back in, so I started it over, I don't know, about 3:30 in the morning. I started it over and just couldn't get it. So there's something I don't understand about it.
Let's look here.
Start and end, and so then what I ended up finding was, as the camera zooms, as I use the zoom out, all of my backgrounds shrunk so much that I